hello everyone, and welcome to the second part of CSS basics, I guess. So I previously showed you how to do inline styling with HTML in the previous course, HTML basics. We used the style attribute, and that's how we did inline styling. Now that is a really less awesome way to style your website for the reasons I mentioned in the previous video. While with a CSS file, you only have to make change in only one place. Now there are two ways that I know of to place CSS in one place. This first is to put your CSS code between the style tags in the same file as your HTML. Now the style tags will go inside the head of your page, so let me just show you what I mean. So I have my project right here, I have CSS right here, and I'm going to create a Lesson02 folder. In here I am going to create a text document called index.html, and I'm going to open this in Sublime Text, which is the new text editor I'm going to be using. So if I write doc type HTML and I go in and I say HTML, as you can see, this Sublime Text automatically completed this. I just needed to press tab and it auto completed it for me. So as I was saying earlier, you can add CSS to your HTML document by adding it between the style tags, as you can see, and then you can write your your CSS in here. So you can say color red. So no need to worry about understanding this yet. We will cover that soon, but let me just show you that it works. So I'm going to say hello, and I'm going to save this, and I am going to open this here, and as you can see, it's red text. Now let me show you a much better way. So let's create another text document, and let's call this style.css. Yes, and let's just open this as well in here. Now I'm going to take this out. So let me explain what I'm doing here. This new, better way of connecting CSS to HTML is that you should write your CSS in a totally different file. You do this by putting a link tag. So a link tag, and if I press tab in Sublime, it will auto-complete it. Now this link tag will have three attributes: the rel attribute, the type attribute, and the href attribute. The rel should always be equal to style sheet. Type should always be equal to style/CSS, and the href should point to the web address of your CSS file. This is just the location of your CSS file. In my case, the index.html is in the same folder as the style.css, so I don't have to point it to, I don't know, another folder or something. I just type in style.css. If, for example, I had a folder in here called CSS and then dragged style.css into that folder, in here I would have to type css/style.css. But in this case it's just style.css, and that's pretty much it. So if I just save this, and keep in mind I didn't add anything to the style.css yet, so it should just be normal black text, as you can see. And now if I say P color, let's say purple, and you get the purple color. Okay, so CSS syntax is different than HTML syntax. Well, as you can clearly see that just by looking here. But it's easy to pick up, so don't worry. So this is the general format or general syntax. So this right here is called a selector. This right here is the attribute or the property. And this right here is the value. So a selector can be any HTML element, such as, for example, I don't know, table, paragraph, image, heading. You just take off the let me just show you. For example, you wouldn't say table. You would just take off these greater and smaller than symbols, and you're going to select the table. So that's your selector. In this case here, we were selecting the paragraph, so P, without those opening and closing brackets. A property or an attribute of a selector is an aspect of the selector. For instance, you can change the font family, for example. You can change the color, you can change the background color, you can change the font size, you can change the height, the width, and so on and so forth of elements on your web pages. So you can change that stuff here. So let's say I'm going to change font family here, and the value is a possible setting for a property. So color can be red, blue, black, or almost any color, and font family can be a whole bunch of different fonts. You can even use Google fonts and stuff like that, but we'll get into that later. So I'm going to say, I don't know, cursive, just like once before. And if you go here, as you can see, we changed to cursive. Another thing I forgot to mention is that you have to end each property value, so this is the value, with a semicolon. This is a semicolon. This is actually also a declaration, I guess, because you're declaring that the font family will be cursive. So you end each declaration, I guess, with a semicolon. That's how CSS knows you're done with one pair and you are ready for the next. So if I were to end that, and I would say here I wanted the color to be I don't know, maybe blue. So I want the color to be blue, as you can see right there. You can even change the size then, font size 12, well, let's say 20 pixels. As you can see, you can change a lot of things. So I've shown you that you can have multiple properties, and now I'm going to show you that you can have multiple selectors as well. So let me just add a h1 tag, and let's say welcome, and I'm going to access that h1 tag, so h1, and I'm going to say color, I don't know, let's say red, yeah, and as you can see, there it is. Now let me show you how CSS comments look like. So you write a / and then an asterisk, and then you can write anything you want. So let's say this is a comment, and then you write an asterisk and another /. So as you can see right there, that's how you make a comment in CSS. So that's it for this tutorial. In the next tutorial we will cover hexadecimals and a lot of other stuff. So pixels, ems, fonts, I don't know, there's gonna be a lot of stuff we're gonna cover. We're gonna also cover backup values, and so stay tuned for the next tutorial, and see you guys next time. Bye.